Hey everyone, and welcome back to my interview series Bold and in Business. I'm Alex Turner, and I'm really pleased to be bringing you this interview today. I'm here in the Swiss Alps, and I'm talking to my guest, Gin Lalli. She's based in Edinburgh, and she is a Solution Focused Therapist. She does amazing work in the realms of stress, anxiety, sleep, depression, and I think it's really important conversation to be having, especially this week. In the UK, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. So I'm really interested to kind of dive into the topics around anxiety and stress and the kind of tools that we can use to be more resilient and get more out of life and to kind of, dare I say it, feel a bit happier. So let's go and meet Gin. So hi Gin, thanks so much for joining me today. It's so lovely to see you.
Hi Alex, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. So before we do get going, I did want to just mention something. Like I say, it's really good to have a conversation with you because I have your recording, one of your guided deep relaxation recordings, and I listen to that not every day, but almost every day. So I'm so used to hearing your voice, and so now to have a conversation, it's a little bit meta for me. So
it'll be great. As long as, I suppose you'll be nice and relaxed, but as long as you don't fall asleep.
No, I'm not going to fall asleep. I have extreme doubts that I would fall asleep during this interview. But yes, that's a little segue into maybe some of the work that you do. Could you tell us a little bit about your work?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Gin Lalli. I'm a Solution Focused Therapist, is what I do now. I didn't always do this. So I've been doing this for about the last 2.5, 3 years. I've always had an interest in this side of things. So I help people with anxiety, stress, depression, and sleep. And I help them in a way of moving forward. So we don't have to analyze the past. It's not counseling. There's a place for that if people would like that. But I don't do that. And I personally don't live by that philosophy either. So that's why this therapy really appeals to me. It's about understanding the science behind how your brain works. Where anxiety, stress, depression, these feelings come from, what you can do about it to feel better and live your life a lot better. But I believe once you understand all that, you've got lots of tools to carry on to realize, yeah, I'm normal. These are things that happen, but what can I do about it for myself to get a little bit better? So I help people. I only work with people on an individual basis, one-to-one, to create change. So people who are ready for change. That's what I do now. So I qualified with a medical degree in optometry 21 years ago.
Right.
So that is, it's a posh word for being an optician.
Got it.
So I worked in hospitals and privately within the NHS, and I loved my job. Really enjoyed it. Met lots of lovely people. But I was often seeing people, Alex, with serious illnesses. We have to talk to people about what medication are you on. We look in the back of their eyes. We're looking at blood vessels. Blood vessels tell us in the eyes can tell us a lot about the rest of your body. So if they didn't already have type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure or heart disease, I was referring them for checks. And people already were really surprised that that's what we could do as optometrists. But it is a big part of what we do. We don't just give people glasses so they can read or drive. And more and more, I was just seeing a lot of very ill people. But sometimes my clinic would fall behind because I would get involved in people's stories. I loved people's stories. So I sit with my patient in my room and just get into their story. And their story often started with something stressful. They'd had a bereavement, they'd had a financial crisis, something going on in their family, something to do with work. So it was often stress related. That led to feeling physically ill, and then something else happened. And a few years later, they were at this point where they were really overweight, maybe, stressed out, really struggling, and now we could see physical symptoms in their body as well.
Not just in their eyes.
Not just in their eyes, no. So it has these secondary effects. So what we call now lifestyle diseases, problems coming out in our body, inflammation, immune responses, that kind of thing. But I didn't always see sick people. Often I saw very, very fit and healthy people. But you know what? Even the fit and healthy people had a story, and they had often a very similar story. Some bereavement, some financial crisis, something else going on, just as similar. But they were very well. And I found that fascinating. So what's going on here in that you've got someone here that is physically becoming ill with stress and someone here that has managed really, really well. And the one significant story I remember is I saw a gentleman that I'd been seeing sort of quite regularly, yearly, for regular eye tests. And he came in one year and asked him how he was. I knew a little bit about his history, that he'd been in the war. because we often talked about that because he'd traveled a lot. So he'd probably seen lots of horrors there as well. He'd lost a son years ago as well. So that was awful. And when I saw him, he'd just lost his wife of 50 or so years, just about 6 weeks ago.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, he goes, well, life goes on. And I'm coming in, I need my eye test, and I'll have a chat with your receptionist, and I'll go home. And he says, I'm still grieving, but I have to carry on. And I just found that fascinating. He was a real turning point for me in that, well, what has he got that these other people haven't got? And when you're into science, you start to look, you want statistics, you want to see a pattern, but there's no pattern. It's nothing to do with age, race, gender. It was just some people were coping and some people weren't. So that's what led me to study what I'm doing now as well, because I feel that if we can get to the root of dealing with stress, we can help people, not just mentally, but physically as well. So like I said, I loved optometry and it was really rewarding, but I've retired fully from optometry now and I do this full time.
So it's like the science of happiness in a way.
Yeah. And people talk, don't they, about, and in my families, people talk about, oh, you should do meditation and you should do this, and always a bit, well, it sounds a bit, woo-woo for me. Give me the science behind it, and I might be on board. So always just being a bit of a scientist, wanting to know what was the science behind it. But now I've studied it a little bit more, there is something behind it. So I like to give my clients the scientific, evidence-backed perspective of what is going on when you are relaxing, what to do when you are stressed out, what's happening, what chemical reaction is being caused in your body to give you illness long-term and short-term. So I just needed that bit of backing, that's all. And it's all out there, all that information is out there. I feel that I managed to package it up in a way that's understandable as well.
So this is neuroscience, yeah?
Yes, yeah. So very fascinated with psychology. Just because the amount of people we see, you just start studying human nature as well. It was a good experience of studying the human race when you see 12, 15, sometimes more different people every day that you're sitting with one-to-one to chat to.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of commonalities between people, between what they're reporting or what they're experiencing?
We all experience stress.
Right.
All of us. We all need stress. We need stress to get us up in the morning, to get somewhere on time, to make sure we meet a deadline. And we do things. There's a certain amount of stress that's really good for us. We call that challenge stress. So it's a nice challenge. We want to be punctual. Otherwise, you'd be horizontal. You wouldn't care about anything. When that stress starts to just tip the balance and starts to become a threat, that's what we need to look at. So then stress starts to become, right now I'm starting to have a bit of an anxiety attack about just going to the shops to get what I need for dinner tonight. And what I found the commonality was that people that were very well were recognizing those symptoms and did something about them before they got out of control. Right. They were like, this is right. So I am. So, the gentleman that I saw, he understood I am grieving. I have had a lot in my life. So what do I need to do right now, this very minute, to feel better? And I just need to still work through the process. It's about understanding that I'm going to have stress. Grieving can be seen. Grief is like a positive emotion. If you think about it, if you didn't grieve about something, it means it didn't mean anything. Yeah. So you have to go through it. And I think that the commonality with the people who I saw who were very well understood that. They were very realistic about, yes, this has happened, but what they didn't do was remunerate over it, keep going over it, and keep, really using that as their badge of honor, almost, to say, right, well, this is the way I am. They hadn't given into it. They're like, no, I want to feel better. But I went through all of that, whatever it was in my life, or I'm going through something now. And it's just something I need to get through. And they kind of understood life, that this is what it was. No one's life is perfect. No one's.
That's a horrible truth.
Yeah. It might look like it on Instagram, but it's not.
It's not.
So this is where, and this is where people who do very well and manage their stress, they understand that. They're like, no, my life's not, but you know what? It's perfect for me. And then understanding there's some things that are totally out of your control. So there's some things you cannot control. A lot of people get stressed about things they can't control. They learn acceptance. You have to learn acceptance at some point. So that's a big tool to learn for anyone who's stressed. Acceptance of what you can control, and what you can control, that you will take your time trying to control it and manage it as well. And then acceptance of what you can't and letting that go as well, knowing that you've done your best and let it go. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about tools. That's really interesting, like the acceptance and then the letting go. When I went to a workshop with you, it was just such an interesting insight into how the brain works and how we recognize and deal with stress. There's so much power in the work that you do. I'm blown away by it. I really am.
Yeah. It is really powerful. What we're doing is we're resetting your own chemicals. Yeah. If you can get that relaxation, your body hears that, your mind and your body hears that, and now you're producing better hormones, some more serotonin. You've got all that in you. We don't need it from outside.
No.
So get the body back again. And this is where nutrition helps, exercise helps. It's the whole thing. Yeah. So you're getting things yourself back into balance.
Yeah. It's kind of the basics, but then you can buy all these quick fixes, or you can like fall for the journal for 3 days straight on what's bothering you, or like do a yoga practice for like mental clarity. Like, and actually, if you just kind of do the foundational work, it's simple, but it's really simple. It's so overlooked so much of the time.
Yeah.
In the personal development world, there's a lot of self-awareness, but it's also there's a lot of rumination, and that kind of distinction between rumination and self-awareness.
Yeah.
Any tools to deal with anxiety, I think, are really important. And it's not just I know it's not just me. There's a whole population out there needing these tools. What I was going to ask you, the people that were coming to you for optometry, they maybe weren't aware that they had this background or underlying stress. About the symptoms of stress, if you can talk about them, that maybe that creep up on you or don't notice them, or
no, it can be different for everyone, but then there's some sort of classic signs that you can have as well, and it's trying to catch those signs before they get out of control. So immediate signs of anxiety attack going on is breathlessness. You can feel your heart racing a little bit, loss of concentration, you feel a little bit sweaty. This is bordering on a panic attack, so that's quite extreme, and you would know something's going on. Some people have it so extreme it almost feels like a heart attack, and they've gone to A&E. So we call that an acute sign. So they're acute signs, they happen really immediately. Chronic signs, I feel, are a little bit more dangerous in a way, because they're more long-term and they're more subtle. So they start to creep up. So the first thing that starts getting affected is your sleep. We start not to sleep so well, waking up in the middle of the night, wide awake, or we sleep all the way through the night, but we wake up exhausted. And so consequently, loss of concentration. We tend to have a bit of a short fuse. We start getting angry at people a little bit. We might start showing symptoms of just crying at little things as well, so crying at the news or something sexual, or a really sad movie that's just really, but you feel you're not crying at the movie, you're really crying, something else is going on. And you start to exhibit other little behaviors, maybe obsessive behaviors. Migraines and headaches can be another one. Biting your nails is another anxiety marker. And another one is IBS. People don't realize that. So irritable bowel syndrome, or anything to do with your digestion. Your digestion is a really good indicator of what's going on in your body in general, but there is a mind-gut connection. That's one of the questions I definitely ask. Even if it's not been diagnosed, do you feel you've got something like IBS symptoms? Because that is sort of anxiety. So anything where you feel that you're not coping so well as you used to, or as you would like to, when you start recognizing this isn't normal behavior, I am literally checking the lock 5 times before I go out the door, or I'm now starting to panic to go out the door. The little sign, and that's what I want people to really understand, pick up the little signs first before it gets too much. Because when it gets too much, and I see people with, absolutely at crisis point, and we can still do something, but it's so much easier to do it before then. And that's some things you can do yourself as well. So it's really manageable. And again, going back to people who know how to manage their stress, they recognize these signs early. This isn't right for me. I'm snapping at my partner, or I'm snapping at the kids. I need to get a hold on this. I'm not enjoying all the things I used to enjoy. So if enjoyment is starting to go and you're not getting that pleasure from those things you like to do. Sometimes these days we see being busy as a bit of a badge of honor. Yeah. Oh, I'm so busy and important. So, and people don't realize that can be a sign of stress. Are you trying to avoid something? So you're doing some avoidance. So I'll often say to people, always say, oh, what are you doing at the weekend, Gin? I'll say, nothing. I'm not doing anything. Not doing it because I will do something. I haven't got anything planned. I'll probably have a few lie-ins. I might go to an exercise class as well. I'll watch a few movies. I'll go out for dinner. I'll get some work done.
Yeah.
But that's because I know I'm not planning, right, I've got 200 things to do and I've got this to do and that to do and that to do. And people are really surprised. It's almost like you're a lazy person to say, well, I'm going to sleep at the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I really need it this weekend. So I've scheduled a nap for Saturday. So definitely that's gone in my diary first around anything else. And I know, because I know I like to nap about between 3 and 4 is a good nap time for me. That's gone in the diary. Everything else, so doing the shopping, doing some work, even, doing nice things, relaxing, seeing some friends, going for dinner, that will be around that nap between 3 and 4. So don't disturb me between 3 and 4, anyone, because that's when I'll be having a little nap at the weekend. But it's about realizing that's important.
I love it. We should all put naps in our calendar. It should be in our calendar. That's the best. That's the best piece of advice I think that I've ever heard. And because naps are like dirty secrets. Like, you're like, oh, I just had a nap. I just woke up from a nap. But they're
It shouldn't be.
No. In your calendar, people.
Yeah, stick it in there. Just like you would put anything else in.
Yeah.
Or whatever you like to do. I want to spend an hour reading that new novel I just bought from my favorite author. So that's going to go in my diary. I want to cook a really nice meal. So I'm going to make time for that. So make time just as you would make time for anything else.
Yeah. So it's prioritizing that relaxation, those things that are important to you, things that if we don't do them, they start to, the impact of that starts to, it takes its toll.
And it might be a bit controversial by saying not even prioritizing it, just putting it in your diary just like you would put anything else in. Yeah. So you're going to put in like an appointment at the dentist and keep it equally as important. So if you consider that important, equally as important is sitting down between 5 and 6 when you get in from work and just having a cup of tea and doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I think once we start to say prioritizing, sometimes that can cause a little bit of stress for people that, I should be doing that because, Alex and Gin are doing it. So they're putting naps in their diary. So I must put naps in my diary. No, it's not about that.
Yeah.
So it's about balance. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it's about recognizing the importance of these activities, relaxation and enjoyment and pleasure, I suppose, and joy, as well as the things that we would maybe conventionally think of as important, like tasks or things that we have to do. Yeah, I think that's really important.
Balance.
Yeah. It's about being able to choose how you spend your time. And that's just, I hold up my hand and say, I want to spend my time having daytime. I take daytime naps Monday through Friday. And that's important to me. So I felt like I had to structure my life and my business around that so that I could do that. If I didn't, I would feel out of alignment, out of, in conflict, all these things. And that was a big source of stress for me. But I think, like you say, we're all different, and what's balanced for one person might not be balanced for another. So there might be like, you might have to rejig your entire life to find that balance and to find your values so you could live in alignment with that. But it doesn't have to be these big, grand, change your whole life. It can be small things, like putting a nap in your diary, or even just mentally, I'm going to do that this weekend. That's important to me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's exactly that. It's got to be part of your life. And you know what? You have got time. It's just what you consider important. So you know what? Get off Facebook. You don't need to watch Hollyoaks. There's in that half an hour, you could be doing something else. If you really wanted to, even if you've got a full-time job, I know what it's like, especially running your own business, you are on all the time. If I can find them I've just taken, we can use the word prioritize here, because to me, very low on the list is watching television. If it's not a program I want to watch, and that this is what iPlayers and Netflix and all of that is for, that you can then watch it in your own time. So you do always have time. It's just how much time would you rather waste that time on Facebook and watching trash telly than anything else. So I do appreciate, because I'm the same and always have been, full-time job, lots of things going on as well. But that's when you start to feel run down. And if you start to feel run down, you won't be able to do anything. So which way would you rather have it? So it's about making sure that trying to get that balance back. Again, going back to that word balance, sounding very repetitive now. No, but you can find time. So not everybody can, sort of say, right, I'm going to take a sabbatical for a year. We've all got bills to pay, families to look after. So it's not an option for everyone. But changes start small. Changes really start small. So a lot of my clients will say, they want to talk about meditation. And I'll always ask, well, what does meditation mean to you? And the answer, well, I need to do 15 minutes, half an hour, and I need to sit cross-legged in the lotus position, under a tree somewhere. I'm like, no, you don't. When you're washing up, you can meditate. Meditate, mindfulness, whatever you want to call it. There's lots of fancy words for it now, but it's all the same thing. It's going into real focus. So you can do that while you're washing up for 2 minutes. So I tell my clients, I'd rather you did 2 minutes every day than trying to find 15 minutes or go to an hour's class at the weekend. You will get much more out of 2 minutes every day than you will going to a class for an hour. It doesn't work like that. It's called a practice because you need to be repetitive with it.
Right.
You need to practice.
Yeah.
So 2 minutes every day, everyone can do as well.
And is that in their focus? Are they focusing on the activities? So is the purpose to focus on the activity of washing up, or is it to kind of unhook the mind from whatever busyness is going in?
Yeah. So you're doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you are focused on the washing up and you're just looking at the glass and you're watching the bubbles, your mind is now not hooked on the other things. Now it will wander at that point because it's very, very difficult to meditate. So Buddhist monks go on retreats for about 13 years to know how to blank their mind. And even then, they might find it difficult. We don't have the luxury of doing that. So we need to fit that into our everyday life. So that's where I'm saying, if you can do that for 2 minutes, when your mind wanders, let it, but bring it back again. And you'll find you'll get better and better at it. So it's just finding that space to do that for 2 minutes. Start off with 1 minute or 30 seconds and go to a max of 2 minutes if you want to, but you can find time to do that. So you're doing two things at the same time.
Yeah.
Focusing on one thing, which is what meditation is, and it unhooks the mind from other things.
Beautiful. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be on a meditation cushion or on the yoga mat.
No, you don't need candles and your incense stick burning and stuff. Now we're trying to create, you can learn how to do it as well. And if you want, and that's when you want to then, once you start to appreciate that little 2 minutes, you will say, right, I want to do a class in this. I want to learn more about it. And that's where you might develop it a little bit further. But changes, little steps.
Yeah.
So little steps are first. Yeah.
Saying about the rituals and things like that, like I love them, and I make them work for me, and I work with my clients with that as well. I see quite a lot in yoga classes, in yoga teaching, and people in their own practices roll out their mat for 60 minutes and they do the physical practice. So you can do a physical practice of meditation, of sitting there in position, but if your mind, a raging torrent or whatever's going on up there, just chaos, not the point. So you can achieve the most perfect yoga pose, but if you're still stressed out your mind, then it's not yoga, that's not meditation. And that's when the sort of that example of the washing up really starts to come into its it's really powerful when we look at it like that. And I'm going to confess something here.
Okay, here we go.
On my podcast, this was a couple of months ago now, I was doing my Ashtanga practice. So Ashtanga yoga is very it's the same series of postures over and over and over again. So the idea is that you don't have to think about it, which gives me room to think about all of the other things in my life. And it was so overwhelming, all of the thoughts in my head. I actually couldn't continue with my yoga practice. So I went and got my Gin Lalli recording, got my blanket.
Did you?
I did. I just thought I can't continue with my yoga practice because I'm just not in the right frame of mind for it.
Yes.
And it was like, how can I switch out of this? And that was a really, really huge experience for me, because yoga ought to be, and like Instagram yoga and class, yoga teacher is, it's all deeply peaceful, but I find a home practice is actually very challenging. And on that day, it wasn't giving me what I needed. And I can hammer through it, tick the box. I've done it, daily practice, woohoo. But it just wasn't enough for me to kind of overcome whatever was going on in my mind that day, because none of us, people say, oh, I can't do yoga because I can't, touch my toes. I can't meditate because I can't sit down. It's not like I can all the time. There's not a person in the world out there that has got, even Buddhist monks, I'm sure, have days where their minds are,
it's just not working.
The monkey mind.
Definitely. And I think you touched on that point there. On that day, that wasn't working for you. That doesn't mean it'll never work for you again and you failed, or, oh God, right, this has stopped working now because it used to work and now it's not working. Now I need to find something else. It just means on that day you were in a different place. It's the same with my recording, or the same with my clients who come for their sessions. every session is different.
Yeah.
Every time you listen to that recording, it's the same recording. Your mind is in a different place. So one day you will fall asleep to it, and then one day you won't. You'll go right through to the end. And it's just that your mind's in a different place at that point. So your mind was in a different place that day. What you did was to recognize that, not rely on, okay, so yoga hasn't fixed it. Oh my God, but yoga always fixes it. You still had an open mind, but you know what, I'm going to try something else today and go back to yoga tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's about, that's what good mental health is. Just recognizing this isn't working for me today, so I'm going to do something else instead. And that's fine. That is fine to do that. So yeah, really good.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Hopefully I'm passing flying colours.
Yes, you are, definitely. Keep going. Yeah. But alternatively, like I said, that might happen with the recording. One day you might do my recording and say, oh, it's not really working today. I'm going to go for a walk in nature instead.
Yeah.
You know, so listen to that. There you have a gut feeling there. So listen to that to say, right, this just isn't working. So don't waste your time on it if it's not working. So when I'm forcing yourself through it, save it for another day. And again, we're going back to tools. So you need a toolkit. So you need different things that will work for you. And one day you'll find something new that works for you as well. And you can add that in as well. And then something will stop working so well and you can get rid of that and come back to it a year later if you wanted. There's no rules here.
That's an amazing point. And I think that's definitely something I'm finding through my own daily practices. And I'm obsessed with them, like I live by them. But if they were the same week in, week out for years, I think I tried that and it didn't work. And so your toolbox has to change. You have to put some things in it, get rid of some stuff, and then be prepared to bring it back. That self-awareness is really key. And I think it's something that's really particularly poignant like this week because it's Mental Health Awareness Week.
Yes. Yeah.
That what you said there about good mental health, because good mental health isn't like yay.
No, that isn't. No. Yeah.
So happy.
There's rainbows and unicorns everywhere. I love it. Yeah. That's not good mental health. Yeah.
No, good mental health is much more practical. It's much more honest.
Yeah. You know, happiness. So in our sessions, we use a happiness scale. So 0 to 10. And I'll say I'm using that word happiness quite loosely. What I really mean is managing, coping, getting on with life, feeling that I'm feeling physically healthy. That's what number 10 on the scale of happiness is as well, because life is going to happen. But if you can feel you can cope and manage with it, then you've got good mental health. I think with the advent of social media and things, I think people are thinking, yes, good mental health is having a great car, a lovely life, beautiful children, the latest designer handbag, and I'm on holiday, you know, at least half the year. They're outward things. Someone once told me, someone very close to me, my dad, said that heaven and hell is here. So you could be on a beach in Thailand, but you could be in hell. And you could be in some backstreet slum somewhere, but you could be in heaven. So it's here. You're looking outwardly by trying to do those things of sitting on a beach and having a cocktail. But really it's what's going on in here and here that is most important.
Yeah. That's so good. That's such a nice.
It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. A really good one. Yeah. A really good one.
And also he means that about life in general. So people are concerned about death and am I going to heaven or hell? And they're like, he means heaven and hell is here on earth, here in your head.
Yeah.
You can make it what you want.
It's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. It is
powerful. It's powerful. But talking of heaven and, you know, idyllic destinations.
Yes.
Well, maybe you can tell us a little bit about a decision that you took to go and explore a bit of paradise and that kind of jetting off into the sunset. Yeah. You talk us a bit about that.
That's what I did. I did something that I never thought I'd do, but I did it. It's great. So I was an optometrist, like I said, so a really good salary. Had a house in suburbia, a flash sports car, lots of money coming in, paying the bills quite easily, going on holidays and loving it. And my husband and I thought, well, you know, we need to go on an adventure. Like, what's next? What's next for us? And it was like, well, we've done all that. We've kind of ticked all the boxes that are there for success. You know, we'd studied hard. So we'd got our qualifications and now we were doing all these things. And we thought, no, there's got to be more to life than this. We weren't unhappy. We were really happy. But it was just, you know, when you're, you know, in your 30s, you're thinking, you know, what else are we going to do? We made a decision very early on not to have children. That was our decision. and to do with lifestyle, really. So, to be very honest, so obviously our families, our respective families, are waiting for us to have children, and we turned around and said, no, what we did is we sold our house, we sold the contents of our house on eBay. Someone actually bought our bin. They came to pick up the kitchen table, and they went, oh, and we told them our story, we're leaving. And he said, well, are you selling that bin? And I said, there's still rubbish in it, I haven't even cleaned it. He goes, no, I'll take it now, I'm here, I've got the van. So he bought our bin. Sold the cars as well. That was the hardest for me, because I'd really worked hard I'm a car person.
Okay.
Gave up the career and went to live in Mauritius for 3.5 years. Yes, we were there. We just decided to do something totally out of the blue. But it's something we really wanted to do. It wasn't just a harebrained idea. We really planned it. From making the decision to going was 6 months. So that just shows you that, yeah, if you take the time, you can do anything you want. So, and we were working out ways how to do it. So again, it wasn't a harebrained idea, right? How can we do this? We want to make this happen. That this isn't for us now. The life in suburbia isn't for us now. It was like, we've done it. We loved it. But now that it's kind of almost like another box tick, but not that we were unfulfilled. We were just like, it's the next step. We need this something else to do. So yeah, that's what we did. And it was the best decision we ever made. On a personal growth level, and the friends we made and what we learned from that. You couldn't read that in a book. No. You couldn't go on any course to learn what we've learned as well. So yeah, it was really rewarding. Loved it. So we're in Edinburgh for now, and we are loving it here as well. But we've come back completely different people.
I'm all about the freedom and I'm all about the travel, but that's like quite a superficial way of looking at it, because I think what you're saying about the heaven and hell, like you can be in heaven, but you know, going through challenges and things like that. And I think having good coping strategies is like massively important. Like you need a support system and all things like that. So I think there's the glamour of the, you know, the destination or where you are, but really where you are in your mind is a lot more like, I find that a lot more interesting. So
it's the reality of it, isn't it? It's not for everyone. A lot of our family thought we were crazy because we had reached all those points of success. What are you doing now, giving it all away? You know, like, what on earth are you doing? You've worked really hard for that, or, you know, you've got a lovely life and now you're giving it all up. It really didn't make sense. On paper it doesn't. So it's not for everyone. It's something you really need to think about, but it's something that can still be done in smaller ways wherever you are. Because it was about just, we fancied that sort of challenge, but you can still travel. I mean, we'd always traveled and gone on big trips, not just, you know, a 2-week holiday here and there. So there'd always been a lot of travel. So that's where we got a bit of a bug for that. But you do need to have a certain type of personality to be able to do that. So actually it would create more stress for some people. So don't think it's perfect. So go into a country where you don't know anyone, you don't know the language, you don't know where you're going to live to start off with. That's not for everyone. And there were challenges, but it was something we knew. We supported each other. So my husband and I, so we supported each other. So that's what got us through. And then we still had support from members of our family on the phone and stuff. So they were fully supportive at that point, but there's only so much that they could do from far away. But we knew if you make the decision, you've got to own it as well. So that's a bit of my motto in life. Own it.
Go all in.
You know, whatever you're doing, own it if you're going to do it. So you have to do it. So yeah, it's not something that you have to do. It's not something that you need to do. If you can, make sure you're the right personality and you've got the resilience to do it. But you know, there's other ways you can make small changes as well.
The resiliency that you mentioned, I think that's, you know, I just want to like double underline that, because I think that's a lot of the work that you're doing with people is helping them, you know, be resilient to stress and to challenge and to cope with it. I did want to ask as well about goals, because setting a goal like going to Mauritius and starting a business, that's quite what we might call a big, hairy, audacious goal. Are goals important to you?
Yes and no. So yes, you need something to help drive you forward. But I think sometimes if you get fixed on a goal, you're missing out on all the other little goals that were there for you that along the way. So, and also that goal might not be for you as well. So, you know, that goal might not be yours. You think it's your goal and it's what you want, but actually there's a better goal over here. So you should actually be going in that direction. So yes and no, goals are important. So, but that comes back to values again. So having values, that's what drives you. So if you stay in line with your values and your what you believe is your purpose in life, That is your main goal. And then after that, what happens along the way is a bonus as well. So don't get fixated by goals, but yeah, you need a goal to help drive you a little bit and create that good challenge stress. So yes and no would be my answer to that question.
So knowing when your goals belong to you and when they belong to somebody else. About values, do you identify with any particular value, or do you have a top value?
Integrity.
Oh, nice. That's a nice one.
Oh, but it's got me into trouble as well, Alex, sometimes. Yes.
That sounds like
it
a
gets
story.
Me into trouble. It really gets me into trouble sometimes. So integrity to me is everything. If something is right or wrong, when something is wrong, that's when you'll see me at my most passionate. If I believe it's wrong, right, the red mist comes down and you will not take me away from that line. That I'm like, what I'm doing is right and no one can stop me.
Oh my goodness.
There's this real, I don't know where that, and that's where it's got me into trouble. I can't stand by and let this happen. So I need to step in and do something. And whatever the consequences are, I will take them afterwards. Because what I'm doing right now feels right. Again, it's acceptance. So sometimes I need to learn that a little bit as well. That like, just accept it, just let it go. But if it's, I just can't help it. If it's something I feel passionate about,
if it's ringing that
I'm
bell.
straight in there. Yeah.
What we keep talking about, it seems to keep coming back down to a level of self-awareness, of knowing what your values are, knowing what your purpose is. And I know certainly, well, I know for me, I felt like living out of alignment with that was very, like once I did the work and kind of became aware of what my values and my purpose was, and my purpose has a, sometimes it's very vague and sometimes it feels very clear, but
that's
if I'm not anywhere near it, then everything's going haywire. And that was my kind of, haywire was my marker, my stress marker. I feel it's quite controversial, but this theory that society and education kind of trains us not to see that stuff, not to identify our values, so that we can function in like, society. And I don't even want to say a modern world, because it seemed like, the post-industrial revolution world, but the world's changing. We're living in a very different world now, and living, like, I think there's a rub there. And I was wondering if you saw that in people, if they're not aware of, not necessarily not aware of the values, but like if they're not living their values or don't know them, if that's causing them stress.
Yeah, definitely. So when they first come to see me, they're really stressed. I say that stress bucket is full to overflowing, and they've lost control at that point. They have got values, it's just at that point they're not going to see them, or they can't remember them. But as that stress starts to come down, they then start, without even realizing, start living by their values again, and start getting in tune with that part of themselves again. So you're quite right that sometimes it's vague and sometimes it's specific, but you don't need to put words into it, and you don't need to define your values. So you asked me about values and integrity. To me, it's just this passion of wanting to know when something's right or wrong, and I've learned that through experience. So yes, your values, you don't need to write them in your journal. You don't need to put them down. Like you said, you fell out of alignment and then you started doing things that made you feel in alignment. That's all you need to do. So you don't need to describe your values to someone else. They are your values. When you were in alignment, you were living more by your values and with purpose. When you were out of alignment, for one reason or another, often it's external factors. It's not you. Often it's something external. Other people, situations going on in life that'll bring you out of alignment. So that's never your fault, I will always say. You've gone out of alignment because of something else. And that's, as a society, we need to understand as well, that let people go back to alignment of their own values, because we're not terrible people. We've just found some terrible values that some people think, oh yeah, well, I'll go down that route now because I can't find anything else.
And if anyone's listening to this and feeling that or identifying with that, well, what next step would you recommend? Maybe it's steps to healing, maybe it's steps to recovery, like whatever.
It's the solution focused approach, which I live by, to don't tell me what you don't want, tell me what you do want. And don't say it in a way that, like, I don't want to feel anxious and I don't want to feel stressed, because you're still thinking about anxiety and stress. So if we say, right, don't feel stressed, then don't feel anxious, that isn't the way to do it. The way to do it is, so if I had a magic wand and you didn't have this problem, what would you be doing? So if you were feeling a little bit better, what would you be doing instead? What would you be doing instead? Well, I'd have more energy. And how would you have more energy? Well, I'd be getting a better night's sleep. And so what thing would help you work towards getting a better night's sleep? Now we're going to break it down to something really small. Yeah. Really, really small, that doesn't set off your stress markers. So if you could imagine yourself, so someone might say, oh God, you know what? I haven't had a bath for ages. I'd love to have a bath. So I want detail now. So tell me about this bath. So I want you to imagine. Now, your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So if you're saying to me, well, about 7:30, I put the candles on and I've got my favorite bath on and I'd be having a bath with this music, and that would be lovely. Oh God, that would be brilliant. Immediately your mind thinks you're doing it, and you'll find your heart rate will start to slow down, any panic will start to come down, your stress will start to come down. So if you can imagine small things you would like to do that make you feel a little bit better, if you can imagine them, not even do them, I'm not asking you to do them, imagine them, that will make you feel better.
I think I'm already getting the benefits of that lovely bath you just described.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. That's
very relaxing.
I'm not trying to magic things away by asking you to think about this bath. What I'm trying to do is get you to, your mind is going to calm down so you can deal with that problem that you need to from a calmer part of your mind, from your brain.
Yeah.
Do other stuff, come back to it. Your brain was still working on that problem, I will guarantee it. Your brain goes into something called this default mode network when you are, especially when you're relaxed, but definitely when you've taken your mind off the problem, whatever the problem is, and it's still working. So this is why people don't want to sleep, they don't want to relax, and they don't want to go for a walk because they feel like they're doing nothing. But actually the brain has shifted its mode of working, and your subconscious is more at work. Your subconscious is much more powerful than your conscious. So if you allow that part to work, then when you come back to the problem, you will solve it.
Amazing.
I guess the biggest tip I can give someone.
Yeah, that's an incredible tip. That's like a life tip that we should be taught at school, but for some reason we're not.
No, because you have to, there's an example, isn't it? You've got to pass tests and you've got to get past these tests, and then the next test is going to come, otherwise you're going to be a failure.
Yeah. Oh no, what if you're a failure?
What if you're a failure?
What if I might learn from that failure? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So like I said, if the mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, if you've gone through, say you've had an accident in the past, and so you've had that accident, not very nice, but if you're going to go over it again and again and again and again, if your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, you keep going over it again in your imagination, which is your memory, then you've had that accident 20 times, 50 times. For a solution focused therapist, that's not helpful. We don't believe that's helpful. Now, I don't want to step on anyone's toes here, but I'll make a disclaimer, I'm only talking from a solution focused approach. And this is where the self-awareness comes in. Find out what works for you. For my clients who come to me, they want to create change now, and they want to move forward. They've done enough analyzing of the past, either professionally or on their own, and they've just said, right, I've had enough of that. So what do I do now? But for my approach, it's very much about moving forward. And it doesn't cost anything to speak to me. If you want to drop me an email with a question, by all means, just ask. If you want to book a call with me, there's a link on my website to book a call with me. That's free of charge. Talking is where it starts, but it's really, are you ready to move forward? Are you ready to change? That's one of the questions I ask when I'm initially speaking to clients. How long can this go on for? And are you ready to change?
The practical tools that you provide and that you help people learn and implement in their own lives, it's just so refreshing, because it's just a step away from all of this kind of going over and over and over and over all of these things that happened in the past.
And going back to resilience, sometimes people don't know how resilient they are. I see clients that come in, I'm thinking, you don't even know how strong you are right now. They're so stressed, or they've been fed this, they've got this label on them now. I'm an anxious person. I've got depression. I've got OCD, I've got obsessions, I'm a worrier. So many people say to me, I'm a worrier. I'm like, well, who's told you that? Well, I am, I just worry about everything. So, well, it shows you care. So there's a healthy amount of worry. But there's something there that if it's taken over your life and your health, then you need to look after yourself and do something about it.
Oh, Jen, listen, it's been an absolute blast talking to you. It's been really, really
it's been great talking to you. We could talk forever, couldn't we?
I know we could. I'm really, really grateful for your time today and for sharing so much. You've been super generous. Oh,
absolute pleasure. By all means, www.ginlalli.com. All my details are on there, but I'm on Twitter as well, and I love a bit of Twitter.
Nice.
I'm Gin Lalli on Twitter, so we do that. On Wednesday, we do something called #Wednesday Walks, where I ask people to go for a walk and take a picture of something they've seen on their walk, because walking is really therapeutic. Going back to coming away from Sudoku puzzles and going for a walk and coming back and finding the solution, go for a walk.
Nice.
Cheapest form of therapy, going for a walk.
Isn't it though? Isn't it though?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Have a nice time, rest of the time in Switzerland, and get in touch with me soon, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, take care, Gin.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Guys, I really hope you enjoyed that interview with Gin Lalli. If you want to go and check out more of what she does, go and have a look at her website. It's www.ginlalli.com. I learned so much talking to her. When I went to one of her workshops in Edinburgh earlier this year, I got so much benefit from it I can't even describe. So I hope you really enjoyed that interview. Let me know, leave some thoughts in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear what you think. If you've got any questions from her, like she said, reach out to her. She's got such a generous offer on the table there. And in the meantime, if you like this interview series, if you like this interview with Gin, go ahead and hit like. I'd be really, really grateful for that. And consider subscribing to the channel. You can hit the notifications bell so you don't miss an interview when I release them. So that's all from me today. Thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Bye for now.